I'm like the numbers savant, and I get really excited about spreadsheets. So just so y'all know, that's my dirty little secret, and I'm putting it out here. So thank you. It looks like it might be.
You just carry on.
I'm just going to carry on.
Yes.
So every one of you in this room, I know that every one of you in this room has this seed of an idea that could change the world. The Dalai Lama in 2009 at the Vancouver Peace Summit said, "The Western women will save the world." And I really believe this. And this is why I do this. This is why I stand up and talk to and coach and work with women, because I am committed to working with women to cultivate these tiny seeds of brilliant ideas, to cultivate vision and their inner visionary, and to work with them to step into their fullest and most powerful selves as leaders. And interestingly enough, the key to that may just be vision. Now, most of us think visionaries are born that way, but I've been researching visionaries for the last 3 years now, and I concluded that vision can be taught. It's not just learned. There's a certain percent of the population that are visionaries, and it's about equally split between men and women. And there's a gradation. There's the serious visionaries and the people who have visionary tendencies. But all of us can cultivate vision, and that's what we're going to learn today. I'm going to talk to you about why vision is vital for women leaders. I'm going to deconstruct with you what makes visionaries tick. It's pretty cool. And there's a math formula in it, so I'm all excited about it. And you can all ignore that. That's just for me. And if we don't have the slide, then we won't even see it, so you'll be lucky. And the third thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through an exercise, and actually we're going to do it in this room. And if we have time, I'm going to pluck someone out of the audience to show you not only how you can use vision in the longer term, but how you can use it in the very near term to have amazing things happen. All right, so I have been on all sides of this equation. All right, oh good, look at that, check it out. Talking vision here. So I'm just gonna when you catch up, it'll be fun.
Yes.
I have been an executive, a CEO, an entrepreneur, a coach, a mother, a daughter, a sister. And one of the things I've seen over and over again that has me frustrated is even the most talented, brilliant, ambitious women often fail to really fully step into their greatest leadership potential. And this almost happened to me. In 2005, I helped Sandisk Corporation launch a joint venture. I worked with them as a consultant, and after we got it successfully launched, they asked me to be the CEO. And I was like, oh no, I don't do that. No thanks, I don't do that. And I had a bunch of reasons why. I had small kids, I didn't want to travel to Israel where our R&D team was, a whole litany of reasons. But there was something else sitting below that. And it was that I wasn't really sure I could do it. In fact, I was pretty sure I wasn't qualified. Now, I'm not alone. It turns out an internal study by Hewlett-Packard found that women looking at positions, applying for positions that are higher level positions, believe they have to have 100% of the qualifications in order to apply, whereas men will apply with only 60%. So there's a different bar going on here, right? So I definitely had a 100% thing going, and CEO is kind of a daunting position. Something remarkable happened in this journey, and it has transformed my career. And that is that I was helping find the CEO replacement for what I was doing. And the CEO of Sandisk called me and said, we're so excited we found the perfect candidate, and you know him. And I said, really, who's that? And they said his name. And it was all I could do to keep a straight face, because yes, indeed, I did know this man. And he'd been hired in above me at a previous company, and I had very little respect for him. So what happened was suddenly this bar that I had up here about being CEO dropped down here. And it started looking really easy. And I was really interested in that job. If it's there, I'm thinking, well, wow, right there, I could do And they came back, as soon as he blew the interview process, I said, I'd like to take the job, and I did. And it was the single most valuable move in my career, and it was one of the most creative and joyful times I've had. And it's changed the complete trajectory of my life. So I am deeply fortunate that I ended up stepping into that, and that fortuitous moment happened. So let's forward a few here. Okay, that's great, thank you. So why is vision important for leaders? Well, it turns out that a professor at INSEAD did a study of 2,800 360-degree reviews of entering executives into their leadership program. And what they did is they had this database of all this information, and they compared the results for women versus men across 10 leadership traits. How were they ranked by their superiors, their peers, and their subordinates across these 10 leadership traits? Well, lo and behold, it turns out that women, next slide please, outrank men in 7 of the 10 traits. The ones in black. They ranked equally to men in 2 of the 10, which are the ones in red. And there was only one trait where women did not rank as highly as men, and that trait is a trait of envisioning. Now, when I read to you what this is, you'll recognize that these are vital traits for a leader. It's sensing opportunities and threats in the business environment. It's setting strategic direction, and it's inspiring constituents. It turns out that in a study of 10,000 workers throughout the world, 72% of them said that it was vitally important for their leader to have a vision of the future. And it was the number 2 most important trait next to honesty for a leader. So this is a really vital trait. This was exciting for me because I thought to myself, wow, what if it's that simple? What if there's this one thing that we can all get really good at, and that we can actually, leapfrog into leadership in a way that we haven't done in the past? Is this possible? So I started studying visionaries, and it turns out I think it is possible. Because I asked the question, is vision a skill that can be taught? And my answer is absolutely yes. So let's take a look at how it's done. So first of all, I want to talk about a visionary. I'm going to step back so I can look at this. Visionaries are the kind of people who love to peer over the horizon. The future fascinates them as if it were projected on the wall. They see in detail the future. They actually live it, breathe it, experience it. And this detailed picture pulls them forward into tomorrow. They view comments like it can't be done as a personal challenge and will stop at nothing to make their vision happen. And there's something really great that happens to visionaries. So when I think of visionaries, I think of people who seemingly dive into taking risks and making things happen without doing what most of us do, which is think about it and study it, and so that there's this action associated with being visionary. So why is that? Well, I'll tell you why. And by the way, it's because they're impatient. But if you only write one thing down tonight, I'm going to suggest that you write this down. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you tolerate. And once visionaries have stepped into and viscerally experienced the future, they no longer tolerate the present. That's why they act. And you can do this too. That's the great thing. Okay, so next slide. So I have the honor and privilege of working with a great visionary, a product visionary. And by the way, just so y'all know, we think of visionaries as product visionaries, but that's not true. Visionaries can be visionary in many, many ways. In fact, they did a study of the Inc. 500, and they found that only 12% of the founders in the Inc. 500 attributed an unusual idea to their success. The other 88% attributed the extraordinary execution of an ordinary idea. So it's about being visionary and clever about executing, not just inventing that next thing. So Jeff Hawkins is the founder of Palm. I had the privilege of working with him. Stay there if you would. We had been writing software for PDAs, which were made by Casio and Sharp, and little chiclet keyboards. They were awful, awful, awful. And he was trying to get them to build a product that was more like an iPhone. This is back in 1994, 1995. So one day he came in the office, he gathered us all together, and he pulls this thing out of his pocket. And it's a balsa wood model. Underneath that paper is balsa wood. He had spent the entire weekend carving a balsa wood model of the product that we were going to now build. And it had a chopstick for a stylus, you know, and then over time it got a little covering with a screen, a mock-up screen. But then what he did is he walked around and carried this thing with him and used it every single day. That didn't work. You have to tell him he knows it doesn't work. The one he's building will work. Yeah, no. So he carried it around every single day and he used it as if it worked. And he experimented with what he wanted it to do. And he designed all of the software and all of the user experience by virtue of carrying this thing around. So for him, this thing actually existed. And then when the engineers would come and say, you know, Jeff, I know you don't want a tether on it, you know, electronic tether that ties the pen to the device. And he said, yeah. And they said, well, you know, I think we have to have a tether. He goes, does this have a tether? I don't see a tether. So he really, really experienced this product as if it were working, as if it were real. That's what visionaries do. Next slide, please. So the other thing they do is, because this is a formula we run in our heads multiple times a day, whether we want to cross a busy street or whatever. And basically, whenever we assess something risky, we ask ourselves, well, what's the upside? And then what's the downside? And if the upside's really, really big and the downside's really, really small, we're going to do it, right? If the upside's kind of big and the downside is really big, we're probably not going to do it. Now, I'm not going to cross Market Street at 5 o'clock in the afternoon to get to a meeting on time. I'm just going to get to the meeting a little bit late. But if it's, you know, 10 o'clock in the morning, I might. So this is the formula we do. And here's how it looks for visionaries. It looks something like this. Because they've already experienced it. Risk? What do you mean it can't be done? I've been there, right? So they've already experienced the upside, and they have that attitude that, you know, any challenge is a personal challenge that they can take on and knock down. So that's how they work. I'm going to give you another example of a brilliant visionary, Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx. She was yeah, her name was Spanx. I can only say this in an audience of women. I love it. Thank you. Not that men don't need Spanx. I don't know. Thank you. Anyway, so Sarah Blakely, she was a fax salesperson in her 20s, and she was wildly successful. And she thought to herself, you know what? I can sell this product I don't really care about to anybody. If I could come up with my own product, I could completely transform my life, because I could sell millions of them. So I just got to figure out a product I can sell a million of, and that's what I'm going to do. So then she did something else. She actually started envisioning what it would be like to have already done that. This is the key to visionaries. They don't stop at what they're going to do. They actually stop at the experience they're going to have when they've done it. It's like people climbing Mount Everest. They don't think about going up the mountain. They actually think about experiencing standing on top of Mount Everest, and that's what keeps them going, right? So it's not getting the product done, it's the experience of once it's done. So what is she thinking? I'm on Oprah, right? She's thinking she's on Oprah. She pictures herself and Oprah, and they're sitting on stage, and they're each in a chair, and having all this chatter go on. She sees what she's wearing. She sees what Oprah's wearing. And she knows that there's some surprise under the seat, every seat in the audience, and the audience is going to be going, yeah, when they're done, right? The only problem is she doesn't know what it is, right? But they're having a lively conversation. She's on Oprah, and she just kept seeing this vision over and over again. And it took her about 10 years to figure out what the product was. Because one day, she was going to a party, she was wearing white pants, she was putting on sandals, and she didn't like the way her butt looked in white pants, so she cut the feet off controlled top pantyhose and put them on, and off she went. And she thought, I'm not the only woman who's doing this. And they didn't work very well, because they kind of rolled up her leg, it was really uncomfortable. So anyway, so that's how she came up with the idea. So that was it. She's like, okay, this is the idea. So then, she she did one of the smartest things she could possibly do. And this is on the downside, making the downsides tiny, right? The upside's big already. Lots of women need control top pantyhose with no feet, right? Yeah, the downside is all the fear and doubt about whether she can do it. And she decided one of the most important things she could do is protect herself from that downside shrinking or from growing. And so she decided she wasn't going to tell anybody of her friends and close family about this for a year. So she talked to manufacturers, she talked to accountants, she talked to lawyers, she went out and she built prototypes, and she talked to retailers, and she validated the concept. And her family knew she was working on some crazy invention, they didn't know what it was. And so she pulled them all together a year later, and she sat them all down and said, okay, I'm ready to tell you what I've been working on. And they all sat there, wrapped, waiting. And she said, it's footless pantyhose. And they all went, right? Can you imagine? And then out of love and concern, they started saying things like, friends and family say it, and say, you know, if that's such a good idea, how come someone else hasn't done it? Right? You all heard that one? Or, you know, you're going to go do that, and the big guys are just going to come and take you out. They'll just copy it and take you out. Or they said things like, you know, are you sure you want to take that $5,000 in your savings account and use it for that? Are you sure? But by this time, her idea had taken root, and it couldn't be squashed. And she has gone on, of course, to build a $1 billion plus company that sells 60 products in many, many countries around the world. And she became the first woman this past year to take the Bill Gates Warren Buffett pledge to give away half her fortune. And if you go to the next slide, she in fact did indeed appear on Oprah. And she did leave something under the chair for everybody in the audience. All right, let's go on. So how do you do this? I'm going to take you through 2 steps to cultivate vision. How's my time? Okay. Like, how much time?
I'm sorry, I got so
Oh, okay, good. I got all the time I need. All right, these are the 2 steps. You're going to get the hook out, okay? All right. All right, so the first step is, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to do an exercise in this room, and I'll tell you something, it's amazing. When I do this vision exercises in these groups, people have the most amazing experiences. It's better than being in a quiet room doing it one-on-one. I don't know why, but I'm just telling y'all, all the background noise, all the traffic, it only makes it better. So I'm just telling you. All right, so what I need you to do is I need you to put your feet on the ground, and I need you to sit comfortably. And I would like you please to, when you're ready, close your eyes. And you're going to take some deep breaths, just to center yourself in your chair. So go ahead and breathe in. And as you breathe out, I want you to feel yourself sinking in and dissolving into your chair. And take that exhale. See, that helps, I'm telling you. It makes it better. So take that exhale all the way down and pause at that delicious moment at the bottom of the exhale for just a moment. And as you breathe back in, I want you to draw energy from the center of the earth and bring it all the way back up and out through the crown of your head. And I want you to do this 3 more times. Each time you exhale, sink a little more deeply into the chair and release some of those tight muscles. And just let yourself feel the pressure of your body on your chair, your feet on the ground. And then as you inhale, I want you to once again draw energy back up through the crown of your head. And now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to imagine 5 years out. It is the year 2019. It's in the spring. And you have risen to a place of your greatest possible height in talent and professional development. You have all the resources you need, money, time, and health, to live to the fullest possible extent. You have all that you need to fully embody the power, beauty, abundance, and richness of life. And you have all that you need to be comfortable. Rest and recreation, freedom from excessive toil, the opportunity for travel, and time for observation and reflection. Your life is full with intellectual pursuits, companionship, Now, I want you to imagine, keep your eyes closed, and I want you to imagine yourself in a place in the year 2019 that would be significant and reflect where you've arrived. I want you to look around you with your eyes closed in that place and take inventory of what you see. What are the significant things that you see that are meaningful to you in that place? And now I want you to listen for what sounds you hear there in that place in 2019. And what do you smell? Are there any smells that are coming to you? And what are you wearing? How do your clothes feel on your body? How does the air feel on your skin? And now I want you to move back from that place, and I want you to get a sense of what's going on in your life. What's happening in your work that's so meaningful and rewarding? What kind of people are you having lunches with and dinners with? What things are you doing that you didn't really think you would be doing back in 2014, but you are? You find yourself doing them. And as you are there, taking inventory of the work that you're doing, what is it that you're most proud of? What are you most proud of? And now look around a little outside of your work, look into other parts of your life. And what else is significant that's happening, that's meaningful for you? And what is the most unexpected thing about finding yourself in this place? Just 5 years from that time back in 2014 when you were sitting in the room at the Emerging Women Power Party. What is the most unexpected thing about being there? And when you look back at that time in 2014, what was it you did immediately after, maybe the next day after leaving the Power Party, that put you on track to get to that place in 2019? What did you do? And looking back, what was the next big milestone, kind of the big turning point that got you in motion, irrevocably in motion towards your vision of your life in 2019? All right, when you're ready, and only when you're ready, slowly come back to the room and the present. Thank you. Great, I could tell. Does anybody want to share? It's really helpful to hear some of the experiences, especially if there's something surprising. Is there anybody who wants to share something? Yes, please. Yeah.
The revelation that came to me was the ideal that people have around salespeople. And so I really got this inspiration of how to give salespeople a way to just have great meaning. What it is they do and what it is they spread.
Excellent. So it's sort of a breakthrough inspiration. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
I was standing in my house in 5 years. I lived in an apartment, it's small, for the record. And I was surprised by how nice it was. Like, it was nicer and cooler and bigger than I would even have imagined.
Yeah, because you're kicking butt and you're making a lot of money and you're doing great work, and clearly, yeah.
5 years.
All right, so one more. Is there something else? Yes, thank you. In the back.
So I was doing it with the ways that I love doing that, and it was kind of sense that I was super relaxed with my partner. And then when you asked to think about in, when I was thinking about like, what am I going to be doing then? I got this block. Sense of like, but I'm doing exactly what I want to do now. How can that transform? Like in 5 years from now, I'll still be doing this. That's just not the way it works, right?
Yeah.
And then I got, oh, I'm going to be doing the exact same thing, but applying it in different contexts.
Excellent. Thank you. Very good. Thank you so much. Yes, 5 minutes, okay. So, I want to do one more thing, and if I don't have time to finish all my slides, we're just going to let it go. Because is there somebody who, I talked about what you're going to do when you leave from here, and then a kind of an important inflection point or a point in the future. Is there anybody that point in the future seems like a big step from where they are now? Anybody? Would you like to come up and be a demo on stage? Oh gosh, yes. Raise your hand. It's right over here. And your name is? Eleni. Can you tell me about that point?
For tomorrow?
Not tomorrow, but a little further out.
Further out one was that I was going to be holding an Emmy.
Holding an Emmy! Oh my god,
Because I won it, not just because I was holding it.
okay. Thank you. Okay. All right, so thank you. So from this point today, yeah, so here's what I want you to do. That's the future. Can you turn this way? Thank you. I'm sorry. Okay, right here. That's the future, and this is the present. And the Emmy point is somewhere out here, okay? So I'm going to be walking here in a minute. So when you think about that right now, what's your experience of thinking about that?
It's very exciting, but it's also very daunting.
I'm sorry, it's exciting and daunting.
Incredibly overwhelming.
Overwhelming, okay. Okay. And when you feel that daunting, overwhelming, where does it show up in your body?
Right here.
Okay, all right. And what is it you're presupposing to be true to know that that is daunting? What would have to be true for that to be really daunting?
I have to actually do the work.
So it's the work seems daunting. Okay, thank you. All right, so now we're going to just fast forward, because we can. And by the way, y'all can do this anytime you want. You can fast forward into anything you want to. Because we're going to go ahead and fast forward. So I want you to step to the side, because it's a little better. And then come over here. Here's that place the Emmy is, right here. And in just a minute, I want you to step into that, but I want you to let it form, okay? And I want you to step into that Emmy place, please. Just step to the side. There you go. Yeah, right there. Okay? And let that load up. Let that experience load. Yeah. So what is this like? What's the experience here?
All the cameras are looking to me.
Yeah, they better be. And what is it? What's the experience of having this Emmy and having the cameras pointing? What's the experience?
That I'm finally accomplishing and doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and what I've done is have an impact on people in a fun and exciting way.
Okay, great. And now, looking back, just turn around, stay here, but turn around, looking back there, what was the most important thing for that Elani to know from this place? What's the advice you need to give that Elani?
That I'm allowed to have a dream that big.
Wow. I want you just to appreciate for a moment. Thank you. Thank you so much. So you can use that tapping into your future vision at any time to get some perspective on where you are today. It's an amazing tool, as you can see. So let's go ahead and finish up. We're going to go past the 2 steps. We already did them. The next step, we did the 10-year vision, except we did 5. We did an 18-month-ish, which is what we just talked about. You can use this for your personal and your career. You can use it to establish a position of leadership in an industry, to impact policy. You can also use it to change the world. And one of my favorite people and clients is Lisa Christine. She's a humanitarian photographer. She came to me and started working with me several years ago and wanted to have the ability to have her images make an impact and cause people to act on causes she cared about. So she had this vision that she would shoot images that would have an impact on people and people would resonate with the image. So in 2009, she went to the Vancouver Peace Summit, and she met a woman from an organization called Free the Slaves. And this woman told her that modern-day slavery exists. And she said, what do you mean? She was a world traveler. She couldn't believe it existed. And she said, in the worst way possible. And Lisa decided at that moment that she had to do something about it. So within a few months, she was being smuggled into coal mines, climbing down rickety ladders. She would have been killed if she was discovered. And by the way, she has 2 small children under the age of 5. She found herself in brick kilns that were 120 degrees where people worked 7 days a week for 11 and 12 hours. And it was so hot that her camera stopped functioning and she had to go get in the Land Rover and hold it in front of the air conditioning. That's how hot it was. And she also met people like Kofi, dozens and dozens of people who had been freed from slavery. And he's the first generation in many, many, many generations that has not been enslaved. Now this work had her not only have an impact on people, but she was honored with a Lucy Award, which is the Emmy for photographers. She was Humanitarian of the Year as a result of this body of work she did. She did a TED Talk that got over 1 million views in 9 months. Allison here helped her with it. And by the way, my Prezi is Allison McCondre. She did the Prezi. She also inspired and impacted millions of dollars of donations to Free the Slaves and other organizations. And she inspired an 11-year-old girl to launch a company called, it's either Make a Stand or Take a Stand. It's a lemonade company that she started with lemonade stands to donate money for to free slaves. And it's now becoming a company that's going to sell products. They're launching a new product. So this is her vision completely fulfilled in less than 4 years. Now, it's not easy. And you know, it requires courage. And this is Lady Gaga, and I read this interview, it's so great. She says, when I wake up in the morning, I feel like any other insecure 24-year-old girl. Then I say, bitch, you're Lady Gaga. You get up and walk the walk today. That's what it takes. That's what it takes. It takes walking around with a little balsa wood model and pretending it works. Okay? It's not easy. This is not for the faint of heart, but it's something we need to do because your ideas matter. And your vision matters, and you matter as leaders, and we need you to step into it as fully as you possibly can. So I invite you, if you do nothing else, go on my website, katepurmal.com. There's a blog post called Retreat Yourself, and it has a free guided exercise to take yourself with a friend on a vision retreat. And do your 10-year vision. So I invite you all to do that, and feel free to contact me via email if you have any questions, comments, inspiration. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much.